All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This is our first webinar of 2023. Very excited to be here. I'm Alex Terlecki with the CSD Pool. Today, we're staying in-house for this webinar for reducing accidents with safety consultations. We'll cover the whys, the whats, and the hows to make sure you know what resources are available to you as a CSD Pool member and what types of consultations, trainings, and inspections we perform in order to reduce claims and ensure that all of your employees come home at the end of their shift. Today, I'm joined by our two safety consultants, CSD Pool safety consultants, Josh Barkley and Kyle Brown. Kyle has spent the last 4 years at Austin Powder Company before coming to the CSD Pool, and he was a corporate safety and compliance coordinator there. He also spent 1 year with Gage Brothers Concrete Products as a safety coordinator, where he created and implemented programs to reduce injuries and hazards in the workplace, conducted facility inspections, and led company safety trainings. And Josh comes to us with an MS in occupational safety and health. He went on to work in a wide variety of fields, including manufacturing, construction, oil and gas, among other environments. And along with the strength of his background, Josh's biggest strength is his people skills, as anybody that has already met Josh has seen in person. So again, they're both CSD Pool official safety consultants. For those of you that haven't met them yet, we're excited to use this webinar as an introduction to the support they can provide and also detail exactly what it is that they provide. A couple of housekeeping items quickly to discuss. We're recording today's session. If you need to step away, you'll get a copy of that via Eventbrite. PDF version of today's slides are available for download on the screen above the chat box. And speaking of the chat box, you can type any questions that you have there, and we will answer them as we move through the presentation today. And we'll stop at the end, too, for some Q&A in case there's any final questions or comments or concerns. So I think with that, I will turn things over to Josh. Oh, I forgot to do the introductions and the slides. So here is Josh, our new safety consultant, and a little bit of information there on his background, where he comes from, specialties, and then Kyle as well, a little bit of his background there as well, and highlights to what he provides. So with that, I'll turn things over to Josh, and he is going to go into discussing what we're going to talk about today. Josh, take it away.
Thank you, Alex. Can you guys hear me okay? See the screen, all of that? Everybody good?
Coming through loud and clear.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Kyle and I are happy to have you guys here. Want to just kind of start introducing today's topic and just kind of give you a little bit of a high-level overview on what we're going to talk about, some of the things that we're going to cover, and just help you understand kind of how the presentation is going to flow and maybe give you an idea of some questions that you may want to ask us at the end. So today's topic, as Alex mentioned, is how are we reducing accidents with safety consultations? And so off of the rip, what is a safety consultation? Pretty straightforward, but it's basically you guys reaching out to Kyle and I to help understand some of the safety questions or concerns or issues that you're seeing in your facility. So we like to ask that these are in person, but they can happen a number of different ways, right? We can do this via Teams, via a phone call. Ideally, we come to your site and visit and work with you to kind of understand what it is we're looking at and what we want to accomplish. Kyle and I, as Alex mentioned, we have pretty extensive experience in the private sector working with safety and health. So we have a really solid background of what to look for as it comes to hazards and problem areas and I guess ways that we can improve the facility. But we don't know your facility as well as you do. You guys are the experts in where you work and what you do for your work. So really, we just ask that we're able to team up with you guys and kind of come alongside you and understand what's going on in your facility and how we can help. So when we talk about safety consultations in your safety management, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this as the PowerPoint goes on, but we want to try to look at this from kind of an enterprise risk management standpoint. So, it's very easy to think that a lot of our losses come from employee injury, and you would be correct in assuming that, but we can see loss in a number of other ways, right? So we talk about property issues, liability issues. We're going to go into some other detail on some cyber attacks, things like that. Basically, you name it, and it could probably be an avenue for loss one way or another. And it's Kyle and I, it's our goal to kind of come alongside you guys and help you identify those gaps and understand kind of where we can help. So we want to talk about also which consultations are available and how they could benefit you and your district. Again, we'll save some of that for later in the PowerPoint, but we offer a number of different services, a number of different trainings, a number of different audit types, inspection types, things like that. We'll dive into those a little bit further in the PowerPoint and really get you guys some detail on what we offer that could benefit your district and your employees specifically. Again, we can do those via phone call, via Teams meeting. We could even exchange emails if it's something as quick as a one-off question. But we would love to be in person and on your grounds to kind of understand what's happening and what's going on, so we can serve you better. The best part is how much does the safety consultation cost? They're completely free. We'll dive into that a little more later in the presentation also. But Kyle and I's job is to assist you guys with any and all of your safety and risk concerns. If we help you improve safety and loss control at your facility, then everybody wins, right? We're no cost, we are no pressure. There's never going to be anything negative come out of an audit with you guys or with a consultation. So just again, want to reiterate that we're here as a resource to you, and please reach out to us at any time. You can reach out once, or you can reach out 100 times. There's no limit to the ways and how often we can help you. So,
just to reiterate what Josh is saying, this is Kyle. We're here for you guys. That's pretty much our entire job, is to make sure that your employees go home at the end of the day and to prepare you and your district for any problems that are happening now or may arise in the future. So as you're looking through this presentation and we mention something that catches your eye, reach out to us. We'd be happy to dive a little bit further in there and help you guys out.
All right. Moving along. So what is our mission here? So it's pretty simple. If we're talking about safety consultations, our mission is to help you mitigate risk and reduce loss. As I mentioned earlier, when we're talking about loss, that can kind of take several forms. Can be employee injury, property damage, liability. We have to keep in mind here that as special districts, we're not only trying to protect our employees that are at our facilities, but we're also serving the public, right? So how do we kind of factor that into how we approach and identify safety risks and hazards and things like that? As Kyle said, we want to make sure that everybody returns home safe every night. As special districts, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our constituents and also to our employees, right? To make sure that everybody goes home in one piece at night, whether they work for us or whether they're using our facilities or using our services. We want to make sure that we identify all of those problem areas and kind of, like we said, come alongside you and just be an assistance to you guys and a reference point for any of these questions that you may have. As I said earlier, we can't do that without your help. You guys know the facilities and the job description way better than Kyle or I ever will. So we want to just reiterate that it's a team effort between us and you guys, and that starts with just opening that line of communication, reaching out to us, having us come visit, connecting with us via email, phone call, whatever that may be. Let's work together and help you guys out. One last thing, just kind of want to reiterate here that when we're talking about loss, we're going to dive a little further into this, but it is not only employee injury and safety hazards that we're looking at. So I want to ask you to keep that in mind also as we kind of comb through some more of these slides. So, all right, moving on. So digging a little bit further into kind of what we talked about on the first slide, what is a safety consultation? And the answer to that is kind of multifaceted. It's many different things, and it's going to vary depending on your district type and some of the needs and concerns that you guys have. But basically, just to give a little more information, Kyle and I are going to work with you in your district to identify and evaluate any of these safety risks or concerns that you guys are seeing in your districts. And so not only do we want to identify and evaluate, but we want to control those things and also anticipate, some of the other areas that we may see risk concerns or potential loss. I'll save some of the more detailed information for the next couple of slides, but as we mentioned, the safety consultations take a number of different forms. So these can be site inspections or audits of your facility. They can be safety trainings. They can be a claims review and kind of track and trend where your claims data is. We can offer assistance with safety committees. We can pretty much work with anything safety and risk related. And oftentimes a lot of those things go hand in hand, which I guess would kind of help drive the point that us being in person is way more effective than maybe an email or a phone call. If we are on site and working with you to address these concerns, that can kind of help us identify maybe some of the directions that we want to take with your mitigation plans and your advancement efforts, your safety program. So we can offer basically just an extra set of eyes as far as what's going on in your facility, what some of your concerns are, what some of your ideas may be, and we can really help you kind of understand where you want to take your safety and loss control program. So again, any way you want to meet, we can accommodate that. However, we often find that it's more valuable and more effective if Kyle and I are able to walk through with you in person. So,
all right. Just one thing to add. Josh was mentioning all the great things that we do in a safety consultation. I just want to point out that it does not have to be one of these things or the other. We can do a multi-purpose visit too. If you want to talk trending incidents and have a training, we're more than happy to do that. We're here to accommodate any of your guys' needs in any way we possibly can. Continue on, Josh.
Thank you. All right, next, let's dig into the why of safety consultations. So we'll talk about kind of why we want to come alongside and help you guys, and then here a little later we're going to talk about some of the benefits that they come with. But basically, we want to make sure everybody goes home safe at night. That's the main goal. Nobody intentionally looks to get hurt at work, right? I don't know of anyone that wakes up in the morning and says, "I'm going to go have a serious injury today." However, those do exist. Those hazards and those potentials do exist, and incidents happen, right? So how can we anticipate some of those, like I mentioned earlier, and kind of try to get out ahead of that and understand how we can mitigate some of those risks? Our people are our most valuable assets, right? Our employees are our most valuable assets. We can have all the fancy machinery and all the newest technology, but that is nothing without the people who run our facilities. And protecting those people should be a number one goal of any of our districts. As we mentioned earlier, Kyle and I both came from the private sector prior to our roles here. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics says that the injury rate in the public sector, which is what we all are, is 4 times higher than the injury rate of the private sector, which is mind-blowing to me. And there's a number of reasons for that, but basically, without diving down that rabbit hole and going into detail, we are getting people hurt and seriously injured at a much higher clip than the people in the private sector. And we have to do better, and we have to be more proactive on that. And we really want to, again, come alongside you and team up with you and help with that. As far as being able to identify and control some of these areas of loss that we're talking about, I just kind of want to briefly talk about some of really, I guess, major benefits that come along with that. When you talk about reducing injury, if we just stay in that bucket, there's a lot of, I guess, secondary and even tertiary benefits that come with that, right? So if we lower injuries, if we reduce the number of injuries, then we're obviously reducing our workers' compensation costs. So that could, that will be our insurance claims and things like that. You think about initial injuries, hospital visits, physical therapies that come along with that, lost time in, injuries. If you have to have employee turnover, if you have to hire someone new, train someone new, all of that costs money. Reducing these injuries will eliminate a good chunk of that. With reduced injuries, you also are allowed to have lower insurance premiums, right? That's everybody's favorite thing to hear when renewal time comes around, that your premium's going down. We can lower that lost time and that employee turnover. So if we have someone who's seriously injured that has to, unfortunately, resign or step away from the job, we're going to have to pay to train new folks, maybe even have to increase salaries, things like that. There's a lot of costs associated with employee turnover that we can alleviate. I mentioned earlier the liability and the property piece. We work with the public a lot, so reducing these injuries and identifying these hazards can reduce some of that liability that we have on our districts. We can reduce some of your equipment damage and some of maybe your product loss or downtime in your facility. And also we see a lot of improved morale between our employees when our management takes the time to identify and really hear the employee and understand safety hazards and make the facility safer. We see that people are happier when they come to work. I want to just again reiterate that complacency is kind of the killer of progress here, right? So a lot of districts that we visit, they kind of say, well, we've been doing it this way for a long time, right? This is the way we've always done it. We've been doing this for 25 years and we've only had so many injuries. That is the wrong way to go about your safety and loss control. If you stay complacent, it's not a matter of if you're going to have a serious injury, it's a matter of when. And we want to make sure that you understand where we can help and where we can add value to your district. Again, loss and risk can come in many forms, and it's not just people getting hurt. So, anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it very well.
Perfect. Okay, next slide, we'll just dive a little bit deeper into the benefits of a consultation with Kyle and I. So I think this one at the top here is really important, access to other pool members. Kyle and I, we work all over the state with a number of different districts and district types. Chances are, if you are having an issue in your facility, someone else is currently having the same issue, or they've had it before, or they will in the future. So kind of having that network of different districts and different similar entities is really important in kind of managing some of these risks and really understanding, what some of the solutions are and maybe getting creative using that team environment to kind of help build with your risk management strategies. Using the term best practices, I really like that because the best practice changes all the time, right? There's been a best practice for a while. There'll be a new best practice very soon. And having that kind of community between other districts and other members is really important. And it's, I guess, a really good way for Kyle and I to draw on how we can help and even introduce you to some of these other districts where you guys can network with each other. Next, we have the access to historical data. So not only do we have a long list of resources from our previous lives in the private sector, but we have some really valuable data sharing tools now through the pool that can really help you understand where your deficiencies are in your district. So we can see your claims data, we can see where they happened, when they happened, what body what body part you're seeing the most injury with, what the injury types are, the age of your people getting injured. We can see the date of hire of your people getting injured. There's really a lot that we can kind of dig into and dissect that can really help us get a clear picture of where to target your risk control and your safety, mitigation efforts. We try to bring that to our member visits that we have in some way, shape, or form, and we see a lot of value in that. When you're able to put it all in a visual and readable data set, it really kind of helps drive the point that there are areas where we can improve. So bringing Kyle and I in to kind of help discuss that data and dissect that with you, again, is really valuable in kind of understanding what direction we want to go and take your safety program. And then at the very bottom there, we're on your team, no consequences and no costs, right? So we mentioned that earlier, we're at no cost to you. We're a completely free resource to you guys. And the no consequences piece is really important as well. If we come to your facility and we identify things that we want to see improvement on, your premiums are not going to go up. We're not going to go write a nasty letter to our insurance company and tell them, that you're not doing this or not doing that. We are strictly here to help. We are not here to condemn or to, slap anybody on the wrist. We are your teammates, and we're happy to, understand what your concerns are and understand how we can help and move you guys forward. So with that, I am going to turn the presentation over to Kyle and let him go into a little further detail on some of the things that we offer and some of our consultation types.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Josh, for that great intro. I just want to reiterate what Josh said just because it's so important. We are on your team. We are not here to be the gotcha police if we found something. Our goal is to find it, address it, and resolve it so that nobody gets injured, no possible incident comes from that situation, because Josh and I have both been in situations where we've seen a non-compliance issue cause an injury, cause something else to go completely wrong, and we don't want you guys to have to go through that. So, diving in a little further, now I'm going to talk about our types of safety consultations. So, what do we offer? How can it benefit you? And really, what we do. So, first off, safety trainings is a big one. I would say we spend roughly 30 to 40% of our consulting time giving safety trainings. And I will actually dive into this a little bit further in the next slide because it is a very important piece of what we do, so we thought it deserved its own slide. Next, we're going to talk about a facility audit. What do we do in a facility audit? That's another one, too, that's a big piece that can be really beneficial to you guys, so we've dedicated another slide to it. Some of the other things we do is playground inspections. Being as a lot of the districts are park and rec districts, you have playgrounds. Josh and I are both certified playground inspectors, and we can come to your site, look at the playground, give you any kind of updated information about the playground equipment, what should be fixed, what you're doing great. And just to add on to that, with us being playground inspectors, we are getting the most updated information from the Playground Institute, so we'll be giving you the most up-to-date information. Next, we can give you incident trending and management. Josh briefly touched on this earlier. So what is incident trending? So for as long as you've been a part of the pool, we have a record of the incidents that your districts have. We can go back 2 years, we can go back 5 years, we might even be able to go back further than that. And what we do is we look at where are you having injuries, what body parts getting injured, what's causing the injury. If it slips, trips, and falls, vehicular incidents, we can look at that, sit down with you, and develop a game plan to address that so that we can reduce those injuries. And that's also a report that we can print off and leave with you as well. Next is safety committee support. This one will be dove into in a later slide as well, but safety committees are extremely important in stopping that complacency that Josh was mentioning earlier. So what we do with safety committees is we can come in and we can help you develop one from the ground up. We can help you revamp an existing safety committee, or we can just stop by and join your safety committee and give our 2 cents. We can facilitate conversations, give your safety committee some trainings. So we're always more than happy to help you guys in the safety committee support role. Also, we like to just join your safety committee meetings, even if we don't have too much to add. You guys are doing a great job. We like to take that information, remember it, and apply it to other districts that are maybe struggling or just starting out. So that goes back to Josh's mention of the best practices. We want to take best practices from you, not only in safety committees, but in every other aspect of your district, and share it with others. That way, our goal is one day everybody's using the best practices that we are all sharing with each other, creating that community network. Next is policy review and documentation. So policy review, we will look through, help you develop your safety manuals, your safety policies, anything from as simple as what PPE should I wear in my district to some of the more complicated things as chemical storage, respiratory protection. Josh and I, from our previous roles, have experience developing policies, and we have a nice little bank at our disposal of sample policies. So we can give you a sample policy, review that policy with you, and modify it to meet your district's needs. And on top of that, if you already have a policy, maybe it's getting a few years old, maybe you're changing a process, send us your policy, or we can discuss it on site and we can review it and make the suggestions that we have. Next, we have a pool resource overview. This was briefly mentioned as well, and we'll mention it again later on in the presentation. Pool resources are basically resources that we have developed. We've partnered with different companies. We've developed resources on our own to help meet your needs. Everything that's in that resource packet, I believe there's about 50 or so, is there for a reason, because some districts or all districts have a need, and this is how we're trying to facilitate that need. Josh and I ourselves are one of the pool resources. I would like to say one of the biggest selling point resources. Next, we have enterprise risk management. So we often find that safety and loss kind of steals the show from incident risk management. But our goal is to, yes, develop safety policies, but we also want to help you guys develop your incident risk management plans. And we do this through another resource that we provide, Power Noodle. And what we do there is we will set up a meeting with you guys and we can discuss what are your biggest risks inside your district. And again, it doesn't have to be the employee slipping and falling and becoming injured. It could be, well, we're having staffing issues. Well, we don't know what we're going to do in the chances of a severe weather event. That's what we do there is we take your risk, we lay them out in severity, and then we will help you build an opportunity and a game plan to address these moving forward. Also, another part of this is business continuality. So if there is an extreme emergency event that happens at your district, what are you going to do as a business? What are you going to do to make sure that your district moves forward? And we're going to help you develop those plans. So it's just taking the loss control one step further from the employee injuries to looking at it as the business as a whole. And one of the last things we do, which is a big one as well, I'd say we do probably at least 2 of these a month, is an ergonomic assessment. We'll go into your district. It can be for somebody sitting in an office. It could be for somebody who is working in a water treatment plant. We will observe that person doing their daily task, and we'll give them ergonomic suggestions, such as lower your computer chair. When you're packing something, lift closer to your body. And what the goal of this is of course, to prevent injuries, keep them from getting harmed or sore in any way, and ultimately to make them more efficient at their job and not have any issues regarding it. Josh, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would encourage everybody, before we move on to the next slide, to just take a second and look at that list on this slide here and ask yourself how Kyle and I can help add value to your districts through any of those bullet points there. Besides, you guys partnering with some of our third-party vendors, everything on that list is completely free to you all. The policy review and development, that's a huge benefit, especially for some of our smaller districts that maybe don't have those built out as much as maybe they would like to. The enterprise risk management piece, the playground inspections, facility audits, all of that can really be an insight into some ways that we can help you improve your facility. The resource overview, I mentioned the third-party vendors that we partner with. Some of those guys can be very, very instrumental in helping maybe alleviate some of the issues that you guys are seeing from a technology standpoint or from a platform standpoint, things like that. And in those resources, the things that you guys would have to pay for are all discounted as being members of the pool. So even if there's something that you wind up having to come out of pocket for it, it would be a pretty large discount as being a pool member. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. A lot of good stuff there from Kyle on that slide, but just wanted to have you guys take a second and review that before we move on.
All right. Thank you, Josh. So next we're going to dive into those trainings offered that I mentioned earlier. So as you look through this list, it doesn't seem like a very encompassing list. These are just some of the larger items that we get requests for. We get a lot of fall protection requests. We get a lot of CDOT flagger requests. But one thing I want to say as you're looking at this list, if you want a training that you do not see, make note of it, reach out to Josh or myself, because chances are we have something developed, and if we don't have something developed, I'm sure you're not the only district who wants that type of training, so it should be something that we should be working on. Going back into the types of training offered, one thing I want to mention is, again, Josh and I are always staying up to date in the fields. We're constantly taking classes to make sure that we are giving you guys the best and most robust trainings offered, making sure that it's up to date, giving you all the information that you would need. For example, CDOT Flagger, and January 1, they released their 2023 update. So we went through classes with CDOT where they showed us the updates. We've modified our training programs to make sure that we are compliant with their standards. And just so you know, if you want a CDOT Flagger certification now, you'll have to go through a practical part, but that's not a big deal. You just got to show me that you know how to flag. We've both spent a great deal of our career giving trainings. I used to do 3 new hire orientations a week, which each lasted about 2 hours. And in my previous role, I used to give 8-hour MSHA refreshers. So we're both very comfortable giving you guys trainings. And the best thing is, they're in person. We like to be interactive. Josh and I are both not fans of death by PowerPoint, so we're going to keep it lively. And at the end of the day, your team is going to know what they need to know from the information. Also, as he mentioned earlier, we come to you. It's always best to have us on site. We will come give them at your training rooms, at your conference rooms. It doesn't matter if you're on the eastern side of the state or on the western side of the state. We'll get you scheduled, and we will come to you. To reiterate this again, it's all free of charge. Everything that we offer training-wise is of no cost. And for all of you districts that deal in water, wastewater, most of our trainings that are offered do count for TU credits. I know that that's a big one. And if we have one that's not accredited for TUs that you want, we can get it accredited before we give you guys the training. One other thing I want to mention, it's not on this list either, but we've also partnered with Target Solutions. Josh mentioned this earlier. It's another one of the resources we offer, so you guys get a discount rate to their numerous amounts of trainings that range anywhere from slip, trips, and falls, diversity training. It's not just in the safety realm, it also dips into the HR realm, so definitely something that's really good to utilize. And not only are the trainings free, but we can also use them to get you guys a discount. A lot of the trainings that Josh and I offered, as well as the ones offered through Target Solutions, will help you receive a discounted rate, which I believe Josh is going to dive into a little bit deeper in the upcoming slides. All right, anything to add on trainings, Josh?
I think you got it covered.
All right.
So,
next, we're going to go through a sample facility audit overview. As Alex mentioned at the beginning, my previous role was a corporate safety coordinator. So what does that mean? Basically, I was on the road 30 weeks out of the year, traveling the country auditing facilities. So auditing is kind of my bread and butter. So it's another thing that we're also very happy to offer to you, and we would love to take our expertise and look at your facility. And as I mentioned before I dive into the whole process, this is not going to be us beating you up, us doing this to raise your rates. What this is going to be is us helping you, looking at things that can be improved upon, and then helping you do it. So the first step is to schedule a visit. Reach out to Josh or I. You'll get our contact information at the end of this. Put a scheduled visit on the map. A full audit could take, depending on the size of your facility, the two of us could do it in a couple hours, or some of you larger facilities, it could take multiple days. But again, we're here for you, and we will set that time aside to make sure that we are meeting all of your needs and exceeding your expectations in any way we can. Another thing we'll do once we have it scheduled is I normally like to start with a phone call. Let's discuss, why do you want a facility audit? Do you just want an extra set of eyes? Do you want us to look at everything, like your procedures, your written rules and policies, or do you just want us to walk around the facility and look for things that we see as compliance issues off the top of our head? We also want to look at your injury rates, where your injuries happening. So these are things that we want to come into knowing before we actually start the facility. And this is the thing that I like to say, before I go in there, I want to know what keeps you up at night. What injury spot? Is there a certain spot in your facility that you're really nervous about but you don't know how to address? Those are the things I want to know about, because we can spend a little bit extra time there and make sure that we're getting its due diligence. So after we've scheduled and we've discussed it, we are actually going to arrive on site. And typically a safety audit is, we're not going to run around with a checkboard and yell at everybody. It's essentially just going to be you showing us around on a tour. That's one thing we do ask, is if we're doing a full-fledged audit, we'd like to have you, another member of management, somebody who knows the facility really well to accompany us, because I believe Josh mentioned this earlier. We know what to look for as a safety hazard, but you guys know this facility. You know how it runs. You know how it operates. Often, us looking at something compared to you explaining it to us is the world of difference on whether we can resolve something. Another thing we like to do is, while we're doing these audits, we like to chat with your staff. We don't want to just walk around and stare at people. I want to talk to them, know what their concerns are, what makes them nervous. And again, this is not to get anybody in trouble, but it's to move forward and develop a plan to resolve issues and prevent injuries. And as we're walking through, obviously, we'll identify obvious hazards and provide mitigation suggestions. Another thing, too, this is on the same lines as a facility audit, but a little bit more in detail. We do more than just walkthroughs. If you guys need dust sampling, gas sampling, noise monitoring, we can do that. We have the equipment to do that. We both have experience doing that. We'd be more than happy to set up in your facility for a day to help meet these needs. Another thing we'll look at, too, is your facility adequacies. Do you have proper exit routes? Are they marked? Are there eye wash stations? Do you have fire extinguishers? Are they charged and being inspected? We'll look at these, and we'll talk you through, if something is not quite right, what we should do to move forward. And a nice thing to remember, because whenever I go through these facilities audits, it can be a lot of information. So you don't have to remember everything. At the end of it, Josh and I will type you up a nice detailed report that outlines what we found wrong with corrective actions, and also what we found right. That's one thing that I don't think is looked at enough on the safety side of things, is everybody's quick to point out the things that are wrong, which is great because those need to be resolved, but you also need to be patted on the back for the things you're doing right, and us taking pictures and talking about that will help us take that and share it with other districts as well. We can also look over some PPE suggestions, like let's say in your shop area, should they be wearing ear protection? Should they be wearing eye protection? We can help you dive into that. Another thing I want to say is we're also not there to just give you a hard time. It's not just a white glove audit. We're both known for, let's say there's some boxes blocking an exit way. We're not going to just sit there and write that down. We're going to talk to you. We're going to lift up those boxes and help you correct that immediately. So if something can be corrected by us on the spot, we will do that. We're not just there to carry around a clipboard. So next, we're going to identify and help mitigate those hazards. Again, that's just by walking around, and we're going to talk to you as we're doing it, because I've noticed in my career as being an auditor, you might see I might see something that looks like a safety concern. I talk to you about it, you explain it, and then it's actually not a safety concern. I just didn't understand the process. And for things that actually are safety concerns, we're going to sit down, we're going to find a solution, we're going to talk to other districts if we have to, and we're going to basically dive in and do the legwork so we can tell you how to resolve that. And then we'll plan a path forward. So you have your list of do's, you have your list of don'ts. That's great. What we're also going to do is we're going to leave you that report. So the report's not just going to be a bunch of red check marks. Again, it's going to say what you're doing right as well. But the nice thing about the report is everything that we look for, slips, trips, falls, is there something blocking this doorway, is chemicals stored properly, this will all be in a paper form that you guys will have. And what I would encourage you to do afterwards is perform some kind of routine self-inspection using that form. And not to say we don't want to come out, but it's always good to do a little bit of self as well. And moving forward, we can help schedule you audits. I always suggest doing a yearly audit of each facility because I believe Josh mentioned this earlier, it's just an extra set of eyes. I'm guilty of it. I've spent years at one facility. You don't see any issues with it. You just get used to walking past that fire extinguisher that's not actually mounted and you don't think about it. And then you have another safety professional come in and they point it out and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. So that's what we're there to do. We're just there to help you move forward. And based on what we find, we can help suggest vendors, some of our just different resources that we offer. We can even do safety trainings. We can help you champion a team to fix these issues. So we're not just there to point out the issues. That's only half the battle. We're there to help you resolve them and plan for future issues that may arise. Josh, anything to add on audits?
I don't think so. I will add actually one thing. I just want to talk about the piece of the slide there, like what is the district's role in the audit. Kyle kind of hit on this, but I think it's really important. We're not there to leave you with a clipboard full of a huge to-do list, right? We're going to kind of come alongside you and be part of your team here as we kind of attack and mitigate some of this stuff. But we want to make sure that you understand like what your role is in that as well, right? Kyle was mentioning you guys, know your facilities better than we do, and you know how things work and we don't. But it's really important that you help us understand that and provide some of that key information for us. And it says there, identify key decision makers and get your employees involved. The people who are employees that are our boots on the ground folks are going to be a really good insight into where we can improve, right? And the more feedback we get from those people and kind of the guys and gals that are doing this day in and day out, the more effective we can be. So again, I just wanted to talk about that because this is going to be a team effort between Kyle and myself and you guys. In some of my previous experience, a safety consultant means, or even a consultant in general, they come in and they leave you with a long to-do list and say, thank you, goodbye. And that's not really how this works and it's not how we want it to work. We want to come in and, like I said, be part of your team and work alongside you guys. So.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Next, we're going to talk about developing safety cultures with safety committees. So I'm going to answer the question, what is safety culture, with a few more questions. And you can answer this yourself, and at the end of these questions, we'll have a decent idea. So, what is your organization's outlook on safety? Do people actually live it every day, or is it just written in a manual? Are your employees being safety conscious in their daily tasks? How might you address this? Well, let's think. If you're in an eyeglass required area, how many times do you go through and have to remind them to put on their safety glasses? Are employees actively bringing safety issues to try to make the work environment better? Or do they have the attitude that Josh brought up earlier, it's been done this way for 20 years, it's fine, don't bother me? Are employees encouraging others to work safe and coaching them in proper procedures, or are they under the attitude of, it's not my job, it's not my business? I worked at a place where a guy had a policy, he called it, I don't know, and I don't know. That's not the way we want to address safety. To give a little example, we're going to say employee A is about to enter a manhole without fall protection on. Let's assume that this manhole is about 10 feet deep. Employee B is pretty new, been on the job for about 4 months. He notices that employee A is not wearing the harness. Does employee B know that he shouldn't be wearing a harness, or does he just not say anything over fear of ridicule? Because, again, I've worked in places where people make fun of you for trying to be safe. Yeah, don't be a sissy. Do it this way. You'll be fine. So, also, I will say this too. This is something we can assess whenever we come to your site for an audit or even just for a tour. As I mentioned earlier, I used to travel the country doing site locations. I can give you a pretty good idea of your site safety culture after about just walking around for 30 minutes. And again, it's not something that we're here to bash you about. It's just here something that we want to identify, assess, and develop a plan to move forward with. So, how can you use safety consultations to grow your safety culture for your district? Well, just by us being on site and walking around your guys' district, we get a good idea of what your culture is. And on the flip side of that, your team sees us walking around. They know that you asked for the loss prevention guys from the pool to come in and help assess some of your safety concerns. So right then and there from the start, they know that you're taking safety seriously. And they know that you're taking steps to try to improve it. And often, them just knowing that you're committed to the safety and the safety culture will help get buy-in from them. And honestly, we can do a deeper dive into safety culture too. One thing that I've done in the past is we can help you develop questionnaires. What do your employees think of safety culture? I can honestly say some of my best assessments of safety culture have been working, sweating with the guys in the field, and then talking to them about it as you're doing it. I remember one position I had, I was talking to a truck driver, and he told me, he's like, you know, you guys preach safety at the corporate level, but then you have me driving in this truck that's 30 years old, and I don't buy anything you say. And, you know, that hit me like a brick. Those are things that we're going to help assess. And we just want feedback to help improve your employees' safety outlook, because basically you can have all the policies in place that you want. You can have all the PPE and all the equipment, but unless people are living it day to day, they're not going to get that buy-in, and they're not really going to move forward with that safety culture. So often it's something that you guys need to lead by example on, and we're here to help you do that. So one of the best ways that our safety consultation can help grow your culture is through the utilization of a safety committee. Have us come on site, have us help you build up the safety committee. We'll help you develop posters. We will give you talking points. And what our goal is, not just have a group of people that sit around a room once a month and talk, but we want everybody in that safety committee to be champions and safety heroes that go out and talk to the people in their districts or in their areas and help them live that, not having that attitude where it's not my problem, to where they'll say, hey, Joe, I noticed you were doing this. I found if we do it this, it's a lot safer. It's uncomfortable conversations at first, but if you think that you're going to be saving Joe's life at the end of the day, it's 100% worth it. One other thing I want to mention about safety committees is not only will we facilitate how you do it and what the best practices are, we'll help you pick your team. We'll get a mixture of management and we'll get a mixture of actual field employees. That goes back into the bullet point. Get your whole team involved in safety culture from upper management to seasonal workers. Basically, in building safety culture, it can't just be one-sided. If you just have upper management involved, it's very similar to that truck incident I was telling you about. The field personnel don't really buy into it because they don't see the benefits. And if it's just the field personnel getting involved in safety culture, you often don't get the change because they're not the ones that hold the power to develop policies. So what we want to do is we want to develop a safety culture that gets everybody involved and everybody cared about. So well-being, safety. So the last thing I want to say is safety culture leads to improved morale. This is honestly true. Think about it. Safety-minded employees will take less risks. This helps eliminate hazards and reduce injuries. My first job, I was in the ER at least once every 2 weeks because somebody was injured. And I did not like my job. I dreaded going to work. I did not know if I was going to have to be there telling somebody's family member that they were injured at work. I've been there and it's not a good culture. And so also speaking from the other side, if your buddy got injured, you're not going to be excited to go to work. You're going to be wondering, am I next? How long until this happens again? What we want to do is we want to eliminate those injuries. And it's also going to reduce morale too, because then you're hiring new people to take their places. You don't actually feel safe at your job, and you don't know if you're going to make it home at the end of the day. And that's our whole goal, is to make sure that employees feel like they're going to make it home. It's also going to lead to higher morale too, because if employees see you leading by example with safety culture, asking you where do you see issues at, and then actually following through and addressing those and correcting them, that's going to make you feel better about your job. You're going to feel valued. You're going to feel like your life and your position actually matter. It's also going to reduce turnover. And whenever you do have to hire for a position, it's going to be easier to fill because people are going to say, oh, this district, they have a great reputation. They keep their employees safe. They actually care. It's going to be a lot easier to get somebody in. And one thing I want to say too is if you're not getting a lot of employees injured, they're not constantly going to the emergency rooms or making the news, it's going to help give your district an outstanding reputation as a district that is safety conscious. And I think I've rambled on enough, and I'll turn this back over to Josh.
Thank you, Kyle. Good stuff. So I'm going to get into the last couple of slides here, and I'm going to run through them quickly because I want to make sure we leave time for any additional questions or anything like that. But we've mentioned earlier that we kind of have a vast number of resources that we can help you guys with. Kyle gave that example of the example facility audit. And you know, if we come to your site and we do something like that, that's really good for us to again kind of identify kind of which direction we want to go with how we can improve or help you improve. Provided a couple of examples here on the slide. Some of those are hyperlinks, so if you see any of those that pique your interest, feel free to click on those and give them a look after the webinar's over. But incident management, we can help with that. We partner with Vector Solutions. They have ways that you can kind of track and trend and you know, do near miss recordings and incident recordings and things like that, and kind of help you establish your own data set of what's plaguing your industry and kind of how you can improve there. They also partner with us to help with the SDS app. So we go to districts all the time and we see SDS booklets that have about an inch of dust on them and are thicker than a tractor tire, right? There's 3,000 pages in the SDS book, and we know that it rarely gets opened. We have applications that make those hands-free and a lot easier to use. We can help introduce you to those folks as well. I also partner with a company called Power Noodle that Kyle mentioned earlier that kind of helps with your enterprise risk management piece and kind of a decision-making piece of software that we like to use. We won't go into that in too much detail, but again, if any of these are kind of piquing your interest, reach out and we can help you get in touch with some of these folks that can really help, I guess, alleviate some of these issues that we're seeing in our districts. I'm going to jump to the next slide. This one is one that we really like to talk about. So everybody likes to save money, right? If we have a decision to make, 9 times out of 10, it comes down to a financial or money strain, right? So I want to talk about a few of these really quickly and how they kind of go hand in hand with our consultations that we do. So we have our training discount. Kyle mentioned all the different trainings that we offer, and then even ones that we maybe don't have on that list, but we can put together. All of those, any training that is done by Kyle and I, count towards your training discount. And a training discount, I'm sure most of you know what that is, but if 80% of your employees take one of our trainings, you get a 5% discount on your workers' comp premiums. If you get 100% of your employees to take a training, then you get 10% off of your workers' comp premium. So that's just a way for the pool to see that you are training these folks and kind of staying on top of updates and things of that nature to make sure they understand some of these safety risks. Really, you have potential for up to 10% there, and that's a really good kickback that the pool offers if you're taking these trainings. Safety grant funds. The pool offers money back on your workers' comp premiums as a way to encourage you to spend money on safety-related costs. So the pool will reimburse up to 50% of a safety purchase out of your safety grant funds. Those funds work on a 5-year rolling average. So on year 6, you lose your funds from year 1 if you have not used them. We have members that have over 6 figures sitting in a safety grant that they have not spent. So let us help you understand that and let us help you spend that money. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. So really, really great thing that the pool offers there. And we'd be happy to discuss that with you as well. Last is cost containment. That is an additional 5% off of your workers' comp premium if you are approved for cost containment. The thing about cost containment is that Kyle and I have to personally sign off that you are checking boxes for cost containment. So just really quick, that there's 6 check boxes for that. You have to have a written safety policy. You have to have a safety committee that Kyle and I talked about earlier. You have to do safety training and document that attendance. You have to have your designated medical providers, and then you have to have an accident investigation procedure. I know that's a lot. We won't dive into that too much because we're kind of running out of time here, but cost containment is an additional 5% that you can save on your premium. So that, coupled with training discounts, can get you up to 15% off of your workers' comp premiums. And for some of you larger districts, 15% off is a lot of money. So, lastly, just to kind of round out here, scheduling and visits. You have unlimited access to Kyle and I. We are available 24/7 for anything that you need safety and risk control related. There's an email there that will go to both of us. So safety@csdpool.org goes to Kyle and I both. And then we have our information one more time for you on the next slide. And I'm going to go ahead and pop to that and let Alex close us out. But I guess before we do that, we'll ask if there's any questions or any additional thoughts on anything that we've talked about through the presentation so far.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, if there's questions, go ahead and type them into the chat box now. We'll wrap things up here, respect everybody's time since it's been an hour. Yeah, reach out to us if you want to learn more about any of our safety consultations or if you want to schedule one. We're available, pretty short notice and can schedule out pretty far into the future as well. I do want to clarify one thing regarding the training credit discount that we saw on a recent slide. If anybody is interested in that, it does apply to just your liability premiums there, 5% or 10% off, and that runs through September. So go over to csdpool.org, check out our services page, and you can find out a lot of information there. Meanwhile, next month, speaking of liability coverage, we'll be hosting our February webinar on employment issues that need legal assistance. So these are specifically for members that do have liability coverage with us, property and liability. To learn more about when to utilize pre-loss legal services, you can head on over to our events page and sign up for that today. So I don't see any other questions coming in. Appreciate everybody coming in and joining us today, all of our members here from around the state. And Kyle and Josh, thanks again for putting this on. This was a really informative presentation.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, we were happy to help. Please feel free to reach out to us.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, and again, the emails are on the screen in front of you. Also, bookmark that safety@csdpool.org email that goes to both Kyle and Josh, and answer always very promptly. Again, thanks for joining us. We'll wrap this up today since we're a little bit over time, and we'll talk to everybody next month. Thank you all.